how do we keep the planet moving towards a greener future? It doesn't happen without driven entrepreneurs and inspired social impact leaders like you. This podcast will give the tools and insight you need to join the sustainability movement and save the world. This is Thinking Green with Mohammed Abdallah.
Welcome back, Thinking Green Nation. Today, I am joined by Allison Johnson. Allison is the Chief Marketing Officer of Enphase Energy. Welcome to the podcast this morning. How are you, Allison?
I'm great. Thank you. Good to be here.
So for our audience that doesn't know, Enphase Energy is one of the leading global suppliers of microinverters, battery technology, and as well as a host of other clean tech products. Really amazing what you guys are working on. I think I was looking at some of the more recent stats. You guys did over $1 billion in revenue this last year, correct? And you're at almost 2,000 employees or more. That's right. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background about Enphase, Allison, and then I want to dive deep and go a little bit backwards in time, learn about your story.
Sure. Well, Enphase got its start basically by introducing and launching the microinverter, which was pretty revolutionary technology, about a decade ago, and has spent the last decade really perfecting that technology, and really is now. And microinverters, of course, from my perspective, a relative newbie into the renewable energy space, really helped to, I think, mainstream or make solar panels and solar energy on the roof a mainstream technology, safe, reliable, scalable, and programmable, right? You can hold it in your hand and you can measure the performance of your system on your roof, and so that was, I think, a pretty important innovation. And since then, the company innovation is in the DNA of the company, and has continued to innovate in the space, and is now making, kind of leading the shift, I think, a transition in the industry, an important transition in the industry from solar, right? Solar on the roof, to really energy systems. And now we're moving into the phase where it's all about managing your energy. Well, as you see, we've kind of recently come out with the idea that it's about make, use, save, sell your own power. The industry has matured to a point where now people can essentially become their own virtual power plant. And participate in the energy revolution in a wholly different way. So that's what we're working on at Enphase. Super
awesome.
excited.
So we're going to get back to that. So we're going to get real deep down today, and I can't wait to talk about all the amazing technologies that you guys are developing and innovating. But tell us a little bit about Allison. So Allison, where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. Tell us about your schooling. And what led you to eventually end up working on the work that you're currently focused on at Enphase Energy?
Yeah, well, so I grew up all over the place. My dad worked for Bethlehem Steel Corporation, and so he was kind of in the go-go era of the build-out of the steel industry, and so lived all over the place as a kid, kind of almost like a military kid, right? Kind of every couple of years, moving to a new city, new community, which was a great experience. And I think, as a kid who's moved around a lot, one, you have to learn how to adapt, right, in a whole slew of different kinds of environments. But also, it makes you very close to your family, because you guys, the family unit gets really bonded, and it's what you depend on and rely on as you're moving around the country a lot. Mm-hmm. So I did that. Went to University of Florida and graduated with a degree in journalism and communications, and dual major in English. Yeah, I was, and am still. And really, I think I came out of that program as a storyteller, as a writer. And I think that was an interesting set of skills that served me super well as I went through my career. I've kind of, I see myself as sort of working in these major transitions, which leads me to the energy transition that we're going through. But these major transitions and so the evolution of technology. So was there, as I like to joke about, as a kid at the birth of the internet, revolution, and was really at that point working at IBM and was trying to help IBM figure out how do we shift from being a mainframe company into the internet era and shift into becoming a services company that helped large corporations take advantage of the internet, right? And wire up their back offices all the way out to their customers through e-commerce.
SaaS and stuff
all
like that.
Yeah. All that stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was there for that, and helped, again, by virtue of being a storyteller, helped IBM and all of its customers learn how to contextualize their business in the context of the internet era. Did that again at, went to the original internet company, which was Netscape, as it was going through its transition from being a browser company to kind of an internet portal company. It got acquired, obviously. Then HP came knocking and said, will you help us do what you did at IBM, which was transitioned at HP from a printer business into an internet era kind of company, and worked with Carly Fiorina back in the day as she came in to be CEO there and did the acquisition of Compaq Computer Corp, all that. So another sort of major transition for a company, and then got hired by this guy named Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and worked with one of those guys, and we're that guy, and really joined Apple when it was essentially, iPod 3, so the little shuffle, all the way up to iPad 4, I think.
Wow.
So it was on that, rocket ship, so to speak, and learned a lot about customer experiences and great technology and how to do world-class storytelling, right? And help people get the most out of their products. When it became clear what Steve's trajectory was, I left Apple and worked with this guy named Jack Dorsey to help him really position Twitter and Square. And then worked with a number of different startup companies over the course of 7 years or so, and launched a whole slew of technology, kind of new technology companies born in the mobile era, right? And then really wanted to get back to large corporations making massive changes. So did a little stint with PayPal. As we were looking at the fintech space, but really gravitated toward this renewable energy space, because I think it is, I see the opportunity to be part of what I think is a massive transition that is going to leave the planet in a better place. So it's kind of a wild and crazy career trajectory.
This is fascinating to me, and honestly, I expect no different from an expert storyteller. I mean, your story is pretty incredible. So I want to dive into storytelling a little bit, just because you talked about it so much, and I really think storytelling is super powerful, and that's why these major corporations, like globally, are like looking for people with your skill set, right? To sit down and say like, hey, share our story about how we were a printer business, but now we're going to be in the internet services business. And my understanding of storytelling, which is very rudimentary, is you typically, there's something called the 3 E's, right? And maybe you can share some of your own acronyms with us. The 3 E's are that storytelling is about sharing an experience, and then extracting a lesson, and then educating or entertaining along the way. So that's kind of like my very elementary understanding of storytelling. And whenever I try to go out and actually share a story with anybody, I try to, ask myself, all right, what's an experience I've been through that someone may or may not be may be interested in, right? Because I don't want to share something they're not interested in. And then what lesson can I share or extract out of that? And then how can I do it in a way where it's either funny or educational and generate some value? So I think that I just want to touch on storytelling and have you give us and the audience maybe some tips on how to be better storytellers.
Yeah. Well, I think, honestly, I think you did a great job of characterizing sort of what are the components, what makes for a good story, right? And I think it is personal experiences. It's helping people see things through their own eyes, right? And that was one of the things I think that Steve Jobs did extraordinarily well. Is we were building products and we were talking about the products and we were putting them in the world in a way that was that regular people would totally understand. So we kind of made technology accessible, right? And that's the same thing that we want to do at Enphase. Is really decode, demystify, really help people understand the value that this technology that we're all contributing to in you and your role. How people can embrace it and bring it into their lives and get the most out of it, get the most value out of it. And it should be, in order to do that, the best marketing is about informing, educating, and entertaining. It's not, whenever, one of the big lessons from Steve is whenever we started selling, it meant we lost the red thread. Right? It's like you lost the plot because now you're pushing something on someone versus helping them understand it and embrace it. So whenever we resorted to selling, that was a bad thing. It's like smells like marketing. It smells like selling. But when we were in the position of storytelling, that's when we really could engage people and they could imagine how these products could be used in their daily lives. And that's what you have to do is make it accessible.
I love it. Well, you guys are certainly making solar more accessible to millions of people around the world. And I want to talk about Enphase Energy. So here's a little story about me. When I started selling solar, or perhaps helping people embrace solar and providing options to them, I started with a solar install on my mom's house, and I put a Solar Edge inverter on it. And then moving past that, I was like, you know what? I didn't really enjoy that experience too great. With the monitoring, I don't even think my installer ever set up monitoring for me. And I was not fully satisfied. And so when I went out and actually started my solar business, I started evaluating all types of technologies. I was looking at the panels, the inverter options, the racking systems, and I started speccing Enphase S280s. And that was like my okay, I'm going to market and I'm selling systems. And that was my first inverter to commercially sell. So I started to sell, in 2016, I probably sold a total of like 20 projects, all of them using the S series Enphase. And that was a solid almost 6 years ago. And then since then, I've seen the rapid evolution of, the S turn into the IQ6, and then the IQ6 turn into IQ7, and then the IQ7 most recently turning into the IQ8. Sure. And we've been really quick to, as a company, embrace like this new technology. And we're big fans of microinverters because of their distributed architecture, because the fact there's no central point of failure, because it gives people a better customer experience, because it's a lot smarter, it's a lot safer. On a lot of levels, from a customer experience standpoint, is superior. Now, it can be argued that the performance ratio of string inverters and microinverters is roughly 79% across whatever, we can go all day and talk about performance ratios, and people can get geeked out, and at the end of the day, people love performance, sure. But what do they love more? They love the experience. Like you said, it's the emotional triggers. It's like, hey, look, I'm able to see a drone shot of my roof with every solar panel laid on it, showing in real time every 5 to 15 minutes, how much more energy I've generated out of my system. In the event of a hailstorm or some sort of inclement weather event, I'll be able to identify exactly what's wrong where, right? And I don't think people really understand going into solar ownership, like what all these options are. And so what's the simplest way to break this down to somebody about the value proposition of Enphase, outside of kind of the points I just mentioned, as a consumer, as maybe an average Joe or a layman he's not in the industry? What do they need to know about Enphase microinverters relative to traditional string inverter technology?
You could get it to its most basic. It just works. You can count on it, right? And that's important when you're talking about energy, right? And sort of the lifeblood that flows through your home and keeps home, up and running properly. I mean, I like that level of confidence, that distributed architecture that that kind of geeking out, that distributed architecture is really important. And it's a concept, obviously, that has worked through the ages in the context of mainframe to cloud computing, right? Similar distributed architecture, right? Why did we move to cloud? Because it's more reliable, right? Same thing. It's like that in and of itself, that concept is super powerful because it gets you to the place where it just works. And that's what it is. It's what
you can't have your power systems go down, you need to have, at all times.
Yeah. And, for the vast majority of, the last century, for the most part, we've been, pretty confident that when we turn the switch on, the switch is gonna, it's gonna work. The electricity is gonna be there. My house is gonna be powered. We can talk about the fossil fuel part of that, another time. But the point is that, that technology is over a century. It's almost a century and a half old, and we're still relying on that technology infrastructure to power our lives now. And given climate events, et cetera, weather events. I joined right before the Texas event. I joined Enphase right before, the Texas winter disaster last year. And that really, it was a really formative experience to sort of all of a sudden sort of see this, this state that, you believe is the center of the energy industry, right? Center of the energy universe collapse under a storm event. And that was just one of those events where you're just like, this thing that we've relied on for a century and a half no longer stands up to what nature throws at it. And that's not okay. I mean, people lost their lives. That's not okay. We've got to solve for that. And so the technology has to evolve. Not only is the technology old, but the fossil fuels we extract to electrify that infrastructure is expensive and dirty, and people lose their lives over that. We fight wars over fuel, right? Because it's a scarce resource. Meanwhile, we've got this thing called the sun, is infinite, reliable, shows up every day, essentially free source of energy right above our heads. And the logic of it is such that, why wouldn't we use that? And what changes in society, what changes in culture when we're no longer fighting over and protecting this scarce resource, but we can utilize and harness the abundant energy of the sun. So the inevitability of this transition that you are helping to lead, is pretty inspiring. But that's it. I mean, the fact that now we can, transform photons into energy that we can use, the technology exists to transform photons into energy that we can use to power our daily lives. Mm-hmm. And you as a individual can manage and see and make use sell that power in your own hands is there's if I were sitting in the old energy industry, I would be worried about this new energy industry because
it's an inevitable transition. I mean, you cannot slow it down, and the ship has sailed too far, at this point. I wanted to segue a little bit, Allison, into the entire Enphase energy ecosystem. So you guys started out as this revolutionary microinverter technology, but then quickly you guys, as is part of a big theme in your career, transitioned into other clean tech products.
Yes.
One being, distributed storage, right? Another one being, small tidbits into grid services and other things that you guys are now getting involved in. And without giving away too much detail, we were actually involved in a conversation just yesterday with a local utility, talking to them about grid services and how, we're trying to now, become this new wave of installers that's like, hey, we're not just about construction here. We're actually tech-minded people, right? Yeah. We use a tech stack, right, to operate our business. We come up with web-based and app-based tools to operate more efficiently. And now we're trying to broker virtual power plants and grid services so that transmission distribution utilities out here can tap into reserves of batteries during scarcity pricing events, or just times when the generation assets hit the reserve margin or whatever have you. And so I want you to talk a little bit about the full ecosystem. Talk to us about the new IQ8 Micro, which I'm pumped about, which includes a feature called Sunlight Backup that I'm sure Allison can explain better than I can. And then we can talk a little bit about the storage products, and we can talk about the load control and the software side with grid services.
Sure. I honestly think you're probably way more fluent on the deep technology on all of these than I am still at this stage. But let me just say that I think this industry, right, the energy industry, is going through the same digital transformation that other major sectors of the economy have gone through, whether that's media, whether that's banking and finance, whether that's transportation and the electrification of transportation, right? We're now going through the electrification of the energy industry. So electrification of home, businesses, and communities made possible by digital technology, right? So that there's an inevitability to that as well. So in the context of the transformation underway and applying technology to, like you said, to running your business, it is way more efficient and effective for you as an installer to run your business using digital tools, because you're on the move. You're on your phone. You're not in an office all day long. And so being able to really, everything from lead generation to design and proposals to financing and contracts to permitting, commissioning, activating, all of that is now done on the go, right? And you should be able to manage that as an installer, and we want to help you do that, from your phone, and that means delivering training to you on your phone, because you're in the field and you have a problem that you want to solve, and you want to be able to reference, training documentations or support documentation in real time. And so that's, the same kind of technology advances and changes that are happening in other industries are now happening here. And we want to be at the forefront of that in helping our installer community make that transition and really make their businesses super hyper efficient, give you real-time access to what's happening with your customer fleet as you are, as you're doing. So how do we all in service of honestly creating great customer experiences and making this whole system work effectively for homeowners and consumers and businesses, right? So, that's, we're working. We see ourselves as we make technology. We're working on the digital platform that our installer partners can use to effectively and cost effectively and efficiently manage their business, monitor their business over time. And as customers have experience issues, you're able to see those issues in real time and resolve them. Hopefully sometimes digitally, but sometimes you'll have to go out to the house, but you'll have all that information you need. So that's a huge part of it, right? And we want to help our partners.
Serviceability is actually one of the biggest reasons why we love working with you guys, because we know that you're going to service your product. We know that we're going to cut through a lot of the inefficiencies by being able to remotely dial in to the products and maybe do a firmware upgrade or a software upgrade of some sort to resolve whatever issues. Sometimes you're able to dial in and regulate the voltage, up or down, depending on the grid and the quality of the power coming in, which is entirely out of your control. But the fact that the actual hardware is flexible enough to adapt to even a century-and-a-half-year-old infrastructure is revolutionary in and of itself. So, the serviceability for us is definitely key. And I will be the first to testify and say, you guys had a little bit of improvement to make in the early days with your customer service, but in the last 3-4 years, it's just been top notch. You're seeing it with your business performance, right? Because more and more installers are choosing to work with your product because they have the confidence that it's reliable, number one, and then B, in the event there is a failure, because this is a power electronic, and most people don't understand, this is a full semiconductor system, right? Everything about a semiconductor and microchips, is in short supply, and the cost of metals is up, and you know what I mean? And then in weather elements over time, your solar panel is more than likely not going to fail, but your power electronic may fail over the course of 20 years plus. And I would say that the microinverter is going to last much longer than the central inverter. And so that's what I think is proving that people are standing behind your product. They believe in the mission, they believe in what y'all are doing within this transition. So another thing I found curious was you guys recently acquired an EV charging company, or Clipper Creek, I believe, is public news now. The manufacturer, I believe, level 2 chargers, maybe some DC fast chargers as well. Can you kind of walk us through, the thought process, the decision behind that, and where we can really see this next generation of Enphase technology and products going towards?
Well, certainly, I think I've alluded to the fact that we really see the electrification of the home, electrification of businesses, electrification of whole communities as being kind of the territory that we want to help lead and drive, right? That accelerate the shift toward the electrification of all those things. Vehicles are obviously an important component of that. And they have a battery, right? Cars have a battery. Why can't we make that a component, right, that helps to charge the home, right? So bidirectional charging. So not just, home to EV or grid to EV, but EV to grid is an interesting, an important part of electrifying the home. And so, you can look to us as we really think about what are the critical components of thinking through a home infrastructure. What are the things that electrification has to support? Electric vehicles are obviously an important component of that. So when you're going out to install, Enphase energy systems on folks' home, you're going to be able to say, and we can offer EV chargers as well. And over time, the goal is to get to bidirectional EV chargers, so that the car becomes, the vehicle becomes another important component to keeping a home charged during, a terrible weather event. So it's kind of logical in many respects, but it's super exciting to us because electric vehicles are a huge are a huge topic of conversation, and it's something that consumers are really interested in. So it gives us another opportunity and reason to talk to consumers and be in people's lives. So,
I love it. I see it. I see where it's all headed, right? The full Enphase energy, electrified home fleet. It's really amazing how there's so many different platforms now being established, right, by leading providers in this space, and it's become part of this consumer shift to looking for one-stop shop that has everything. I think that the big companies knew about this the earliest and knew it the best. That consumers were eventually going to say, well, you know what, I don't want to buy this from here and this part from there, and they're going to say, well, why don't I get the solar panel with the inverter, with the battery, with the car charger, with the smart panel, with the load control, so on and so forth, from a one-stop shop. And it's a smart approach, right? Because then it's you become the home. Right, it becomes an Enphase energy home, which is very powerful. And I mean, there's millions of homes in America, and so I'm kind of curious, what can we expect? What can the public expect moving forward from a company like Enphase? Doesn't just have to be visionary, but some practical, public, news. Obviously, like I opened up with, and I do want to hit on some of these points. Enphase has 2,100 employees, 900 plus installers in the network. They have shipped 39 million microinverters, almost 2 million solar systems in 130 countries, $1.4 billion in revenue in 2021. I love your stock price. Thank you guys so much for that. I got in a couple of years ago, so love that. And then obviously the 245 megawatt hours now of battery shipments too.
Yeah.
So the battery is coming out on the scene full throttle. And I am glad that you talked about Texas, because obviously after the February storm, we tremendously grew our battery partnership with Enphase, and we've done a lot more batteries, since then. And so I'm just curious, what's your vision for Enphase? What can we expect to see from you guys, from in the next couple of years? And what are you most excited about?
Well, I do think that we're at the early stages. I think 3%, approaching 4% of the U.S. residential market is electrified, is solar, so to speak. So there's a massive market out there that we collectively, you guys at Good Faith and us, have to go help people understand why this is the time to make this transition, how this technology works, how it's beneficial, not just in terms of cost savings, but resiliency, for the folks particularly in climate event kinds of markets. I live in California, wildfire country, right? And rolling blackouts. Thank you, PG&E. Texas has its own challenges with hurricanes and weather events, et cetera. So there's almost a sort of a moral responsibility to help people understand how they can protect their families, how they can protect their homes, how they can save money, and why this is also good for the planet. So what you can expect from us, the thing that was really kind of central to me in joining Enphase was the fact that this company starts every single business conversation, every single meeting that we had with, is this the right thing to do for the customer? Is this improving the customer experience? We must, put ourselves in the shoes of our customers. How does it feel? And so that's what Apple did, right? It was always sitting in the chair of the customer. And how does it feel to use this technology? What does this technology do for me? How is it going to make my life better? How is it going to simplify things? And that's what I think the job of Enphase is. Like Apple, you mentioned the integrated all-in-one system. That gives you the ability to really build in performance, really build in control, really build in intelligence, right? That makes all of the components of the system work better together. And so, I think what you can expect from us is really important to help make this transition and to drive this transition to a new energy future, to help educate the marketplace, to work with you so that you can, you can do your best work, and we can do it super cost effectively, and you can grow your business. Because as there's an installer, a shortage of great installers, right? There just aren't enough installers to meet the demand. So how do we help expand your business? So it's really being a good ecosystem partner and ensuring that our customers are having great experiences, that you're, able to grow your business effectively, and to really help to, jumpstart, this shift to a new energy future. And whether that's at the policy level and helping, government, both state, local, federal government understand the importance of these new energy resources and the value they can create for communities in providing additional resiliency to the grid, and lowering the cost so that we can all use electricity more affordable and more affordably and more reliably, to, helping to advance all these exciting technologies that are getting built right now. This is the build out of the sustainability era, and you and I have the good fortune to be in the very early days of that build out, and so. This is
you guys have been a fantastic partner, Allison. I just have to kind of say that over the record. Just from all angles, you guys have supported us so much. And, especially now with getting the education out there and being able to be involved in that awareness build, campaign and education campaign. And I mean, like you said, it's like we have a moral obligation to go out there and share with people like the real dangers of, the infrastructure as we know it today, and how the future is going to drastically impact, the current, physical world we live in. So I think that I just want to say that. Now, I do have kind of one final question before I let you go. I know you're super busy. I have a soft spot in my heart for females in the renewable energy industry. I think that we need to get more and more women working in renewables. All right. You guys are incredible. And I always say it like, you have to have countering thoughts in an organization, right? That's what diversity is all about. Like, there's a saying, an old saying that's, if you have two people agreeing with each other all the time, then you don't need one of them, right? So I just, I really love, and I'm not saying it's just, females that disagree with men, but, it's like men, it doesn't matter race, gender, background, socioeconomic background, so on and so forth. It's so important to have people that come from different experiences and are shaped differently to be able to counter and develop something that's actually great for the world. So what kind of tips or what advice do you have to any ladies, females out there that are interested in getting into the renewable energy sector, and what avenues, what resources they have available to them?
Come in. That's my request. I mean, to your point, Mo, this is like, you get to the best outcomes when you have a diverse and inclusive, set of folks and work teams around you. Because people do have different experiences, and they do bring, life experiences, work experiences, and I'm the storyteller in a very engineering driven, geeky math head company and culture. And I bring a set of skills that are unique in that culture, and I hope valued in that culture. And that's, whether that's masculine or feminine, or whether that's, my training in school and versus other training in school, it doesn't really matter. The point is that, when you create that kind of environment, you can get the best out of everyone. And I just think,
come in.
It is come in, everyone. The water is lovely, and the opportunity is immense, and the need is high. So it's a great time to join the renewable energy revolution. I think it's early days, and so inviting everyone in to come play.
Well, I couldn't agree more with you, Allison. I want to thank you once again for spending some time with me. Congrats on all of your achievements. I think you're by far and large one of the most creative people that I've ever been able to work around. Although in very slight, just being able to see your work product and the work product being pushed out by Enphase on a regular basis, and the digital assets that you guys are providing us. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to be a partner with you guys. Congrats. I hope you guys see nothing but more success, more value creation, more awareness and education spreading, around renewable energy and how people can become smarter and safer, more reliable, more resilient with your technology. So thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoy that beautiful Northern California?
San Francisco behind me.
San Francisco. I see San Francisco behind you. I'm getting a little bit of nostalgia. It's 40 degrees down here. So no, but thanks again. Tell everyone over at Enphase we said hi. We thank you guys again for your partnership, and keep doing great things, and look forward to continue working with you guys.
And right back at you. Thank you for everything you're doing, and for being such great partners, and look forward to so much more. So
absolutely. Thank you, Allison.
Game on. All right. Talk to you. Happy holidays.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Thinking Green with Mohammed Abdallah. This episode was brought to you by Good Faith Energy. For more information, check out goodfaitenergy.com. Make sure you subscribe, give us a review, and leave a 5-star rating. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. See you on the next episode of Thinking Green.